So, welcome to everyone. Firstly, acknowledging all of our many traditional owners we have around Australia. And Kelly's, I know you're not actually there at Uluru, but it would be getting the vibe of it from behind you. I'm back in Whadjuk country in Perth after 3.5 weeks traveling around Australia in all sorts of wonderful traditional lands. But yeah, just acknowledge our owners and pay our respects to them, past, present, and future. So, welcome today for what I think will be such a good session for you. It's a special session just for all of you who have been through the program. TA, as we know, are great sponsors of this program and have supported us right from the start. So, thank you to Kelly and all the team for that. And we know that emerging leaders is an important area for Tourism Australia to support. So the idea was they are an amazing marketing machine. They are the marketers for Australia brand. And so we thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for you to get more of an understanding of Tourism Australia, what they actually do for us in the market, and also not just from business events, but as a whole organisation across the whole visitor economy. And Kelly's got a number of slides to go through, but please interject wherever you've got any questions. And don't be afraid to ask any questions. No question is stupid. But thank you all for going through the program, and I hope you got lots out of it. We just so everyone knows, we've got another one running in August in Sydney, and we've got another one running right before the conference in Adelaide in December. So anyone you know that you think might be worthwhile joining up with those, please get them online and get them to register their interest, and we'll be doing those. We're now doing them 2 days together. So some of you had them days apart. It's the 2 days together, and then the one-on-one session is following that with Dan. So thank you to everyone. I'm going to hand over to Kelly with her wonderful slides and information.
Thank you, Mel, and thanks everyone. I'm really delighted to be here today, and I'm going to share my screen. Don't look at my crazy desktop. And as Mel said, we're really delighted to sponsor this program, and I think emerging leaders and young talent in the industry are so important for us. So at Business Events Australia, we're delighted to be part of the program. Before we begin, I'd like to pay my respects to the First Nations elders past, present, and the leaders of the future, and acknowledge the First Nations custodians of the land, sea, and waters of the Australian continent, and recognise their unceded custodianship of culture and country for over 65,000 years. So today I thought I would just go through a little bit about what our role is, how we fit into the business events industry here in Australia. And as Mel said, more than happy to take questions as we're going. Feel free to unmute yourself and jump in and just ask a question, because I probably won't notice if someone puts their hand up. So please feel free to jump in. So I'm really going to cover what our role is, our remit really from key markets, and how our distribution and partnership activity and marketing all comes together, and how we work closely with industry, and one of our new initiatives from a sustainability perspective. So I'll crack on, but if you've got any questions, please jump in, and I'll certainly stop and take questions at the end. So I'm Kelly Maynard. I look after business events as the General Manager of Commercial and Industry. So primarily that's everything to do with distribution and partnerships. So what's our strategy and how do we engage with our international customers? I look after our partnership programs, work closely with our international markets. So we've got teams around the world that actually work with our key customers, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And I also look after the industry here in Australia with Glenn from my team. So how do we engage with industry here who want to work in the international business event space? So from my side, Glenn Davis looks after our partnership marketing program with Jessica is our marketing coordinator. And then I also look after our business events team in Asia. So we've got team members in China and in Southeast Asia. And then we've got dedicated teams in North America and also New Zealand. So what is Business Events Australia? We are the specialist division of Tourism Australia that is focused on bringing inbound conferences, incentives, exhibitions and events to Australia. So we don't do anything in the domestic space. We let the states and territories manage that. For us, it's all about the rest of Tourism Australia is looking to bring people in for a holiday. We want to bring people from a business events perspective. And our end target customers are incentive planners. So that could be an incentive agent or a specialist agency that manages incentives. And I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. Or the corporate customer themselves, association decision makers. And we also market to global delegates looking to come to Australia for an event that's already being held. So an incentive is a reward and recognition program where a company wants to reward and drive sales either for their own staff or the distributors of their product. So that could be like Amway, who have distributors who sell their product. It could be a pharmaceutical company who reward their own sales staff, or it could be someone like a car sales company. So like Range Rover, distributors here in Australia might sell multiple different cars, but for people that sell their product, they offer a reward and recognition trip, 5-star, really unique experiences, and they spend a lot of money while they're here. The company, the corporate pays. An association congress is where people come together for professional development or learning, often in the same industry sector. And that's where we align with all of the convention bureaus around Australia and promote Australia for the industry sectors that Australia is strong, and that we align with the federal government's industry sectors. So if you're a doctor or a dentist, or you're part of a global association like Rotary or Lions, you would look at a calendar of activity and decide what conferences you want to go to for professional development. So an association congress, someone pays their own flights, they pay a registration fee to attend the event, and they choose what accommodation they want to stay. But we love them, and so do our states and territories and our cities, because they tend to take over a city and they'll stay in different levels of accommodation. And we want them to stay more and do more while they're here. A corporate conference, a lot more obvious. So a bank or a pharmaceutical company might bring all their staff together. And an exhibition. We don't get a lot of international exhibitions coming in as standalone to Australia, but that could be like a motor show, for example. Generally, we see an exhibition is actually forming part of a corporate conference or an association event. Just to give you an update on the value of the sector. So business events, we contribute about 3.96 billion to the visitor economy, and that's just our international numbers. We are down a little bit compared to year on year, and these are we're measured by the International Visitor Survey conducted by Tourism Research Australia, and these are the results at the end of December. But the one important thing to remember is that business events spends 55% more per night than a leisure guest. So a really important part of the visitor economy, and we're about 12% of the arrivals into Australia. So that's at the moment about 730,000 visitors to Australia. And what we love is that they come for their event and they actually visit more than one destination. And about 20% of those that actually come in and stay longer, visit another destination, often visit more than 2. So we see them certainly visiting areas outside of where their event was. From our Business Events Australia remit, our focus, we work in a number of international markets that offer the best return to Australia. So a little bit less than our leisure focus, but for business events, we work in the incentive and association sectors for UK, Europe, and North America. Incentive only across Asia, so China and Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and then New Zealand. And the markets we keep our eye on, Japan, South Korea, and new for Tourism Australia this year is Vietnam. Any questions so far? No? Okay. So our business events customers are very different, and we target the activity that we do and our marketing to those 2 separate customers. So if you're an incentive planner or a corporate decision maker, you want creative ideas, they want high-end accommodation, they want motivational activities and things that are just not off the shelf like a leisure product. They want something that people are going to post all over social media and that they see as really bucket list and something that they're really inspired by. money can't buy experiences, and that includes food and wine experiences, and also including things like corporate social responsibility activities into their programs. So people are more and more conscious of wanting to leave a destination in a better place than when they arrived. So how do they do some activities that help give back? Whereas the association side, we might be working with an actual academic, a head of an association, an academic who's volunteered to be on their organising committee for an event, or it could be a professional conference organiser who actually organises association congresses. So again, we target our content to who we're actually talking to. But the association side, they want to know more about the development in their key areas of focus. They want to know, do we have industry leaders in their sectors here in Australia that are going to help drive delegates coming to their event? So world leaders, influencers, research facilities in the areas that we focus. So for us, that could be tech, it could be space, it could be defence, could be agribusiness. So they want to know, what do we have to offer in their area of expertise, but also more about the infrastructure. If they've got a meeting that takes 10,000 people, they want to know that we have a convention centre, we have accommodation nearby, and they also want to know what legacy can they leave post the event. How do they work with our destinations and our experts to help actually generate some developments in the sector, or some sort of corporate social responsibility areas for after the event? So we talk to our customers in the content that actually makes a difference to them. So incentive side, we have our newsletter or magazine that's called Australia Next, which is all about inspiring incentive product to actually help inform an itinerary. So that could be the latest new accommodation or the latest product and experiences that would inform an itinerary for an incentive side. Association, we talk more about the smarts of Australia and what were the new developments, and showcase events in action and get advocacy from decision makers that chose Australia. We often film them, for example, and talk about how the event was actually delivered in partnership with our destinations. So again, showing proof of performance of great delivery of events and our great infrastructure. And then we go to trade shows, for example, internationally, that cover both incentive and association. Our key stakeholders we work with are the convention bureaus around Australia who drive the bidding for business events. So for us at Tourism Australia, our role is to get Australia considered, to provide platforms for activity to connect with customers and to market Australia, but it's the bureaus in our product that actually put the proposals together and drive the bidding. So there's 10 convention bureaus around Australia that work in the international space. Our key convention centres, because they deliver the largest association congresses and meetings, and also product that deliver the events and help contribute to informing an itinerary or helping deliver. So that could be, a global player like Marriott, who's got hotels around Australia. It could be a product in Sydney like Bridgeclimb. And then we work with the destination management companies that deliver the Western market events, or the inbound tour operators that deliver the Eastern market events and speak the language. And then we work closely with industry, and this is where we provide platforms that help industry convert the bidding. So the Business Events Bid Fund, which is a subvention program that we match with the states to help when Australia is competing internationally to win new business. We've got an advance program that helps drive new events to Australia, or also more delegates to confirmed upcoming events. And then we work very closely, as Mel said, with the BIA and with the industry associations that represent us to government and represent the whole of the business events industry. We have a one voice approach, and that means we work closely with those key stakeholders so that when we are in market overseas, we do work really closely together as Team Australia. Because at the end of the day, we're competing with at least 300 other destinations. So it's important for us that we're all on message, we work together, and that we present Australia and get Australia considered, and then obviously work out what events go to what destinations. And we do provide research. It's about July each year we bring out our Consumer Demand Project research for business events. And that's measuring latest feedback from corporate customers and associations in our key international markets. So from a distribution side, this is the area I look after. It's all about driving international demand for Australia. So we engage with customers in our key markets, and we do that really to tell the Australian story. We do that in the best way that's going to resonate with customers in all of the international markets that we do. But we really try and do face-to-face activity. We attend international trade shows. We run our own events. We run a global international incentive event every couple of years called Australia Next, and I'll show you a video about that in a minute. The one thing that drives the best conversion and really gives people a true understanding for Australia is our FAMIL visits, and that's bringing people here to Australia, and they actually get to experience the destination. And we work really closely in partnership with the convention bureaus, and I can see Beta Ksenia's on the call. We work very closely with all of the bureaus to really help get the planners to experience the destinations, and it gives them the confidence then to pitch to their clients. And we work closely with industry that work in the international space. So as I said, that's everything from FAMILs, and we track return. We did a Japan FAMIL earlier in the year to the Gold Coast in Sydney, and that's already generated 8 new business leads. We ran a North America roadshow in market in March across 3 cities in North America. We've already had leads generate from that. We attend trade shows like AIM, but we don't exhibit. We focus more on how do we connect with the international customers. Next week, we have IMEX Frankfurt in Germany. That's a large business events trade show, and we've got 19 Australian industry on the stand with that. And we do partnerships that provide a platform for Australia. So we have a partnership with IAPCO, which is the International Association of Professional Conference Organisers, around sustainability. So that's about showing Australia as a thought leader in the sustainability space to key organisers who run international events. What I wanted to do is just show you a quick video as a snapshot of the Australia Next event that we hosted in partnership with Melbourne Convention Bureau in December. And then we hosted 9 FAMILs around the country. So this gives you a taste of some of our events. Oh, keep going, sorry. So the one thing that's really important for us, because we do invest a lot of money and so do our partners, it's really tracking the return from the events that we deliver. So we try and keep track of the leads generated, and then of those, how much does Australia win? Because it actually really helps when we're spending money and helping to advocate, obviously, for more money. So I won't spend too much time on this, but the Bid Fund program is super important to help get Australia over the line when we're competing with lots of international competition. So it's really all about partnering with the states and territories who drive the bidding, and we support meetings or association events, a minimum 400 international delegates or 700 for incentives, which is high, but the states and territories all have their own funding. So we focus from an incentive side on those larger events that drive great economic value for Australia. And it's all about keeping the money and keeping the events in Australia and actually offsetting some of the hard costs here in Australia. And the program started in 2018, and we've won 218 events to date worth 1.46 billion. And this financial year alone, there's been really good momentum with wins. We're up to 43 this financial year alone. And the return on investment for the program is $52 for every dollar that we invest. And just to show you the value of some of these events, one of the incentive events that was supported by the Bid Fund and was delivered last year in Australia was the largest incentive on record we have delivered here in Australia, and this was held in Melbourne, and it was 16,000 delegates. They used 66 restaurants, 32,000 room nights, did 19 tours and experienced product across Melbourne and across regional Victoria, with an estimate of $100 million economic impact. So it gives you the idea of how much value these large business events bring to a destination. And that's just the event. On average, there were 6,000 of them went shopping, for example, at Chadstone, and spent on average $900 per person. So it's really good spend to the economy outside even just the value of the event itself. And another one that's important was the International Astronautical Congress held in Sydney last year. That event was first held in Adelaide in 2017, and the 2017 event resulted in the Australian Space Agency being launched by the Australian government. So here we are a number of years later with the event being held in Sydney. Over 7,000 delegates joined from 99 countries, and there was 40 global space agency delegations. And there's been a number of big deals that have been done post that event. So it shows you that the economic impact is one thing, but the benefits and the long-term outcomes of some of these events are really important. So just quickly from a marketing communications perspective, as I said, we really tailor the content and activity that we do to the two different audience sectors that we work in, association and incentive. We do everything from longer form or short form content. We film video case studies. We film destination content, really to drive awareness and consideration of Australia, but also to demonstrate what amazing events are actually delivered here and our world-class industry that deliver those events. We are on Instagram at the @Australia handle. We have our own business events LinkedIn channel, and we do a lot of targeted LinkedIn to our key customers in key markets. And in China, we have our own WeChat platform. We leverage trade media to drive greater editorial content and bring media where we can to families. And we also look at really tailored content that showcases the activity that we do and leverage the broader awareness of our leisure campaigns in all of our markets. So just to show you quickly how our marketing differentiates, this is the incentive sector. You'll see it's a little bit cheeky. It's using some of our key iconic images, but it's using some of our friendly, warm and welcoming tone here in Australia. So it's meant to be a little bit cheeky, that all incentive programs are the same, aren't they? And look at some of the great destinations we have to offer. And then an association side is a little bit different. It's more about showing our cities and our infrastructure. But again, talking about some of the smarts of Australia and some of the things that we have here that some of our competitors don't. As I mentioned, we do quite a lot of paid activity with our marketing, and at the moment we're doing some specific marketing in some of our key markets, really to talk about the fact that some of our key selling points in Australia are we're warm and welcoming. We have a streamlined visa process. We actually have a dedicated team in Canberra that helps with visas for groups, and it's a real advantage for us. We've got direct flight routes. We've got very warm and welcoming locals. We've got great experiences, and our destinations and outback and landscape are really unique. And we deliver value for money. It's a real selling point for us, particularly for the Western markets, where in their own countries, they have 2 lots of additional taxes or service charges. I'm doing an event in London this week, and everything I'm looking at has a VAT tax and a service charge on top. The beauty and unique selling point for Australia is you get given our price, whether it's a hotel room or a food and beverage cost, and that includes our tax, and tipping is not required, no additional service charges. So it's actually a unique selling point, and particularly for markets like UK, Europe and North America, their exchange rate is also very favourable. So we're really trying to talk about that at the moment with our key customers and reinforcing the benefits of hosting events here in Australia. And as I said, we do lots of different content, and it's showcasing the unique experiences, the new products that we have here in Australia. We really focus on new hotels upcoming, for example, because the lead time for business events for an international incentive is generally up to 2 years, but the association events are bidding at the moment up to 2030. So new convention centres opening, new infrastructure, new hotels, it's important for us to talk about that because planners are looking more longer term than the next 6 to 12 months. And then lastly, I just wanted to show you our latest sustainability campaign. We actually launched this at Destination Australia a couple of months ago, but we're making a real focus on this at IMEX Frankfurt next week. We've not really launched this to the international business events audience at this stage, so we'll be leveraging this week. So green is our gold. And for those of you that know our sporting colours, hopefully understand the meaning of what this is about. But it's a new sustainability initiative for the Australian tourism industry. It's a rally cry really for our industry to join and commit to a shared promise to protect and strengthen Australia's natural environments, cultures and communities. So we've got 5 key principles you can see there: to celebrate community, to embrace culture, to preserve place, respect wildlife and to take care. So we are asking the Australian industry to sign up and actually commit to this pledge. And we'll be launching this through some media and tailored activity at IMEX next week. And I think the majority of the industry on our stand have already signed up to this. So it's all live now on our website, the principles and the information. And I just wanted to show you quickly the video.
As members of the tourism industry, we don't stop at sharing Australia with visitors. We're just as busy caring for it.
That's why we work hard to protect our unique environments
and our cultures and communities.
Because when our backyard looks like this,
That's why we're inspiring others to protect the land and its ecosystems.
because sustainability takes center stage.
And empowering our First Nation and cultures to share the wisdom.
And treading lightly to preserve what makes this place precious.
Because down here, green is a word we take seriously. In fact, green is our goal.
Green is our goal.
Green is our goal.
So what are you waiting for? Come be a part of it. Yeah.
There you go. So that's it from me from an update. I'm more than happy to hear from you and answer any questions. Does anyone have any questions? And as Mel said, no questions silly.
I've got a few, so I can start.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the academics, because
Yes.
a lot of them we know we've got ambassadors through the convention centres and the bureaus.
Yes.
Do you guys get approached directly by the academics, or does it normally come through the association or the organiser or whatever?
Normally we work in partnership with the Convention Bureau or Convention Centre. So
Yeah.
the ones that we normally film as a priority for our case studies are bid fund supported events. And we would generally go to, so for the Astronautical Congress, we fed into the Brief with Business event Sydney, for example.
But
And
what about the inbound? So do you get like academics from America who are looking?
no, we do
around?
it through the bureau.
Through that.
So whoever,
Oh, I see.
yeah, we generally
Okay.
get access to who was the bid leader, for example. But we do that in partnership with the bureau or centre. So we don't
Right, so you've
generally.
already had to contact them directly. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Then 2 other questions.
Yes.
One is you've got the Amway, and then you had like Women Deliver that was amazing
Yes.
in Melbourne.
Mhm.
Can you give everyone an idea of sort of just the timing of when you start that? Like, is it 10 years out, or
Yes.
the process? It's good, all the results, but just to
Yes.
get everyone sort of across the work that goes into that behind the scenes.
Yeah. So Amway is a good one. Amway is probably our largest customer and probably the largest individual corporate that has brought business to Australia over the years. So Amway, that large event for Melbourne, it's the 8th time they have been to Australia in a number of different forms. And we've actually got an MOU or a memorandum of understanding with Amway which is primarily around their Asia business. We had an Amway career event in Cairns earlier this year. So we work closely with an Amway, for example, and the beauty of that from Asia is that they come to Australia once and do Sydney, they've done Cairns. We wanted them to look obviously at coming back and going to another destination. And we've got, as I said, 9 destinations internationally that work in the business event space. So Amway, for example, hadn't been to Melbourne. So our team worked closely with the bureaus to get Melbourne considered. And we're certainly talking to them about coming back for future events in future years. So the beauty of the Asian market is they will look to come back to Australia within 2 or 3 years for one of those incentives to one of our other destinations. So we are talking to them about future business at the moment. The large incentives, we generally are talking 2-3 years out at least because of the capacity. The association side, the bureaus and centres generally identify what events they want to bid on in what industry sectors. And that Women Deliver that was in Melbourne last month ended up with its gender equality, a really important global women's gender equality conference. And it actually took Melbourne 11 years to win that. So they identified that about 12 years ago that they wanted to win it. They got close before and were second and had to bid again. So, and that happens with a number of events that might take 8, 10 or 12 years. So the association side, there's sometimes, and it's changed a little bit in the last few years, is a rotation of pattern of where the associations will look to go. So we sit in Asia Pacific. So if the association has a rotation pattern, they generally look at Europe, North America, Asia Pacific on a rotation basis. And often we're in the 5th cycle before Asia Pacific will come back up again. So we often compete with Singapore, Japan, Korea, or a number of destinations in Asia, for example. So Women Deliver, I know, took 10 to 12 years. The World AIDS Congress that was in Melbourne about 10 years ago, it had taken them 12 years to win that as well. So we know often it's such a competitive industry for the big association events that the region, they really have to work hard to try and, one, get in the short list, but then when it's an Asia Pacific time, try and win. We have seen a little bit of a shift in recent years, particularly post-COVID. Some associations don't stick to their rotation pattern as traditionally they have. Some still do, but they'll often just look at, what's good in the world. And we probably have to acknowledge the Middle East situation at the moment is having an impact. Again, we're really internationally focused. But we are seeing some good opportunity for Australia out of events wanting to rehouse out of the Middle East or where we were competing with Middle East destinations. And while we can't market to say we are safe and secure, we're certainly known as safe and secure, and our research tells us we are. And we're also really, warm and welcoming. And, with the visa process, it's very streamlined for groups. So we've got a number of unique selling points at the moment that are helping position Australia well for those future events.
And I'm going to throw one more question and
Yes.
and shut up. With the advent of AI,
Yes.
there's a lot of talk that SEO is just gone. And is of no use. What's TA doing with regards to the fact that AI now is obviously searching websites and searching other content to pump out everything rather than, the traditional SEO?
Yeah, I think it's a big thing for us. And we actually had a global leadership meeting towards the end of last week, and it was one of the topics of conversation. And we're very lucky at Tourism Australia. We have a digital team dedicated to managing our global websites, managing content. There's a couple of people at the moment who are actually checking tags and links, and they're spending a lot of time making sure that our latest images, latest videos are tagged in the back end so that they're picked up by the AI bots. So it's important to us, and we were talking about it the other day. AI will pick up anything. So what we're focusing on is that they're picking up the latest and the most accurate information. And that's what we want. We don't want them to pick up something about hotel rooms that was, 10 years old, but we want them to be getting the latest information. So we have a team at the moment here in Sydney and also in China that are really checking everything we can and working hard in the back end, but particularly trying to elevate the latest content, videos, websites, a whole heap of things. And we can manage it to a certain degree, and there's a lot we can't control, but it is certainly a key focus at the moment to make sure that they're getting the latest content, and where we can influence, we're certainly looking to do that.
Sorry, can I jump in to ask? Oh,
Go ahead.
who goes first? Steph, do you want to jump in?
Mine's quick. I was just curious about those key markets, Kelly,
Yes.
particularly the emerging with Vietnam coming in. Sort of what are the research or key factors that you look at?
Yes. So we generally, for business events, follow the lead from a leisure perspective. So Japan and Korea, for example, are key markets for Tourism Australia leisure-wise. For business events, we're not doing any dedicated business events marketing in those markets because TA has a big presence with our leisure campaigns. And I don't know whether you saw the Come and Say G'day campaigns that came out in recent months, but there was dedicated content with celebrities in both those markets. So where we see that we can add value for Japan and Korea is that they're markets for incentives. So we do some distribution activity that's quite tailored. So we don't have to be there all the time, but we do a couple of training events in market and do a couple of familials to bring them out here. Vietnam is interesting. It's a new one for Tourism Australia this year for leisure. We've got a business development manager who's based out of Singapore, who started a few months ago. So she is on the ground basically looking at the activity, that we do and touching base with agents. And we've identified the key agencies from a business events perspective. So we've actually got a test and learn famil coming up this month that's going to Queensland. And we know that some of the key agents that delivered the key incentive events. So I expect it will be similar. We'll do a little bit of distribution activity. Training is important. So making sure that they know about our destinations, what are the unique incentive experiences, and, staying in touch so they know they've got someone to touch base with. And we'll let the sort of broader marketing side do that. So we're generally led by if there's newer markets from a Tourism Australia perspective, leisure-wise, and we then look at that. But I'm not expecting any new markets for next year. At this stage, we'll keep our eye on Japan, Korea, and Vietnam.
Thank you. Can I jump in?
Yes, please.
I have one question, but before
Yes.
I do that, I just wanted to comment on the question that Melissa asked about SEO. I wouldn't be too scared about AI just because AI bots, they operate, the idea is that they operate as humans. So anything that you would update for humans, you should be updating for AI.
Yeah.
So it's just the new era. And as long as your brand is strong, that's why this new fresh content is so important. If the brand has a presence, if you have been featured in media, if people are talking about you, if other websites are featuring you, it creates overall brand. And all of these bots, they will still pull your website up into the AI generated answers in the Google. So that's just from my with my marketing hat on.
We want them to get the latest stuff. That's the other thing too.
Absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
the freshest. And then my question was about bureaus and the
Yes.
convention centers. Here in Brisbane, we're very lucky that we have a major partner, BCEC, Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre. We work really closely with them on bidding. But my understanding is that this is not the same across destinations. Could you please give us a little bit of overview from the high level overview of how collaborations are built in different cities?
Yes, and we work closely with both. So our key stakeholder set really is the convention bureaus and centres. So yes, you're correct. Brisbane, the centre drives the bidding for the association side, while BETA is more the incentive corporate side. That's also the same in Cairns. So Cairns, the convention centre, does the bidding for association, and the bureau focuses more incentive and corporate. The rest of Australia, it's primarily that the bureau leads the bidding for the city for both and works collectively and collaboratively with their convention centre. So Melbourne, Sydney, the bidding's led by the bureau, but with the centre, backing them up. The other one that probably gets involved a little bit more in individual bidding is maybe the Darwin Convention Centre, but they still work very closely with Northern Territory business events. So the model most of Australia is that the bidding's led by the bureau, but yeah, we've got at least 2 of the Queensland cities that the centre does their own association.
Right, thank you. And is it just because it's historically built like that, or are there any specific reasons?
No, I think it was just because their area of expertise, and when the centres were set up, they have, their own. In Brisbane, the centre has their ambassador program, and I think Cairns was the same. I think they were just structured naturally that the centre was before my time. Actually, it's always been like that as far as I know. But I think it was because historically the centre was more in Brisbane related to the association side, and I think when the centre was built in Cairns, it's the same. They were more focused on the association side, whereas the bureaus are more incentive and driving more general visitation to the region.
Right, thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll
Hannah?
throw in a question there, Kelly. We've
Yes.
just been talking a lot about bidding and attracting business. Do you want to touch on more about the delegate boosting side of things? So once you've secured it, then how you can work
Yes.
with that end user to boost up their
Yes.
numbers, because that's good for everyone.
So our advanced program I mentioned that's funding, it's actually coming out. Our prospectus for next financial year will come out later this week. So we fund distribution activity that's going to drive conversion for new events. But the main sort of piece is around delegate boosting. So where an event is already confirmed to be held in Australia, how do we partner with either the PCO, the conference organiser, or the Convention Bureau to drive more delegates to that event? So Women Deliver was an example of that in Melbourne, a number of events. It doesn't have to be an event that was supported by the Bid Fund. It does have to be in partnership with an Australian company and an Australian entity, and the money has to stay in Australia, but it can be used for activity like attending the prior event to actually talk about the Australian destination and when the event's being held, or maybe to do some specific marketing activity that's going to drive more delegates. I think the biggest opportunity for us is bringing delegates from Asia Pacific. We're based in Asia Pacific. We have, an extensive network of, direct flights coming into Australia. So I think that's often a key focus for the organisers or bureaus, particularly to look at how do you drive visitation, obviously, depending on what the industry sector is and, where they've got strength. But I think the beauty for us in Asia, we're seeing more and more of our incentive agents asking us about upcoming events in Australia. So it's a huge opportunity. And it's really about if the destination's appealing and they market in a sector that people are find important or is an area they're interested in, it's a huge opportunity to get more delegates. The Women Deliver one ended up with great numbers, 6,000 from 189 countries. It just probably got held up a little bit in the middle of the Middle East situation in terms of last minute. On average, talking to global planners, 50% of the delegates register in the last sort of 3 to 6 months. So it's always a short window of that, where they see last minute registration spike. So it's a big opportunity for us. I think, Hannah, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, we've got a few Brisbane locals on the call, but in terms of the Brisbane Olympics, what you're seeing from like an Australia-wide business events perspective in terms of impacts or opportunities that you're seeing, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yes, good question. We are very focused on the runway to the Olympics as Tourism Australia and for business events. I think Tourism Australia-wise, we're working very closely with the BOCOG organising committee, obviously with BETA and Tourism and Events Queensland. So we're looking at the runway and the leverage points between now and the Olympics. I think it's a great opportunity, and Brisbane and the centre will be on the stand with us at IMEX next week and have a bit of a focus, and it's something we're talking to that, the Olympics and Paralympics will be held here in 2032. And I think there's a great opportunity with the increased infrastructure in Brisbane. I know they've got a strong strategy to be looking at what conferences to attract in the lead up, pre and post. And there's often a lot of extra meetings and conferences that happened in the lead up to either an Olympics or Commonwealth Games. So I know that there's a specific Brisbane strategy, and I think we're looking at where we can support for things like our Bid Fund program to help support them with bidding. But I think it's an opportunity for Queensland and Australia, given the Olympics are, the broadening outside Brisbane. But I think it's something we're looking at, and also looking at from a Tourism Australia perspective. We always look at the opportunity for something like that. While the eyes of the world are on Australia, how do we help leverage and elevate that as well? So it's certainly in our plans, and also looking at the handover moment in LA, the prior Olympics, in the key markets that Brisbane focus on, are the key markets that Australia focuses in. So business events wise, I think the immediate short term is that events are bidding in the lead up to 2030 and 31 at the moment, but we'll certainly be supporting Brisbane.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, everyone. If something springs to mind, just shoot it through to us. Kelly's actually, as she just said, going off to Europe and then away a bit, but while she's away, I'm sure Glenn or the team can answer any other questions that might crop up. But thank you so much, Kelly, for your time. I know you're absolutely
welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And it's great to see you out there selling the beautiful place that we have on the business events front. So thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy.